In the small, forgotten town of Black Hollow, nestled deep within a dense forest, there was a legend that no one dared speak of after dark. It was said that the woods were haunted by the spirits of children who had vanished over a century ago. The townsfolk called them the Whispering Shadows, and they were said to lure other children into the forest, never to be seen again. 12-year-old Tommy had heard the stories, of course. Every kid in Black Hollow had. But he didn't believe in ghosts or legends. He was a practical boy, more interested in building tree forts and exploring the woods than in spooky tales. That was, until the night he heard the whispers. It was a cold October evening, and Tommy had been playing in the forest with his friends, building a new fort near the edge of the woods. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows across the ground, his friends began to pack up and head home. "You coming, Tommy?" his best friend Jake called as he slung his backpack over his shoulder. "In a minute," Tommy replied, hammering one last nail into the wooden planks. "I just want to finish this part." Jake hesitated, glancing nervously at the darkening trees. "You sure? It's getting late, and, the stories." Tommy rolled his eyes. "It's just a bunch of dumb stories, Jake. I'll be fine." Reluctantly, Jake and the others left, their laughter fading into the distance as they disappeared down the trail. Tommy stayed behind, determined to finish the fort. But as the last rays of sunlight vanished, the forest grew unnaturally quiet. The usual chirping of crickets and rustling of leaves ceased, leaving an oppressive silence that made Tommy's skin crawl. He was about to pack up and leave when he heard it. A faint, almost imperceptible whisper, like the sound of wind through dry leaves. He froze, his heart pounding in his chest. The whisper grew louder, more distinct, and he realized it wasn't just one voice but many. They were calling his name. "Tommy, Tommy, come play with us." The voices were soft and melodic, but there was something wrong about them, something cold and hollow that sent a shiver down his spine. He turned slowly, scanning the dark trees around him. At first, he saw nothing but shadows. But then, as his eyes adjusted to the gloom, he noticed movement. Shapes were emerging from the darkness, small, childlike figures with pale, glowing skin and empty black eyes. Tommy's breath caught in his throat. He wanted to run, but his legs felt like they were rooted to the ground. The figures stepped closer, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. "Tommy, don't be afraid. We just want to play." He stumbled backward, tripping over a root and falling hard onto the ground. The figures closed in, their faces expressionless, their eyes boring into his soul. He scrambled to his feet, his heart racing, and bolted into the woods, not caring which direction he was going as long as it was away from them. The forest seemed to stretch on forever, the trees closing in around him as he ran. The whispers followed him, echoing in his ears no matter how fast he ran. He could see the figures out of the corner of his eye, darting between the trees, always just out of reach. Finally, he burst into a small clearing, gasping for breath. The whispers stopped, and for a moment, he thought he was safe. But then he noticed the figure standing in the center of the clearing, a little girl in a tattered dress, her hair hanging in matted strands around her face. She was staring at him with those same empty black eyes. "Why did you run, Tommy?" she asked, her voice soft and sad. "We just wanted to play." Tommy backed away, his mind screaming at him to run, but his body wouldn't obey. The girl tilted her head, her expression shifting to one of curiosity. "You're not like the others," she said. "You're different." Before Tommy could respond, the other figures emerged from the trees, surrounding him. They were all children, their faces pale and gaunt, their eyes hollow. They reached out to him, their fingers cold and clammy as they brushed against his skin. "Join us, Tommy," the girl said, her voice now a chilling whisper. "Stay with us forever." Tommy's vision blurred, and he felt a strange, heavy drowsiness wash over him. He tried to fight it, but it was like trying to swim against a powerful current. His legs gave out and he collapsed to the ground, the whispers growing louder and more insistent. Just as he felt himself slipping away, a sharp, piercing scream shattered the silence. The figures recoiled, their faces twisting in fear and anger. Tommy's vision cleared, and he saw a woman standing at the edge of the clearing, holding a lantern. She was tall and thin, with long, dark hair and a face that was both stern and kind. "Leave him be!" she shouted, her voice ringing with authority. "He is not yours to take!" The figures hissed and snarled, but they began to retreat, melting back into the shadows. The woman rushed to Tommy's side, helping him to his feet. "Are you all right?" she asked, her voice gentle now. Tommy nodded, still trembling. Who are you?" "My name is Eliza," she said. "I've been watching over this forest for a long time, trying to protect children like you from the whispering shadows." "What are they?" Tommy asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Eliza's expression darkened. "They are the lost souls of children who were lured into these woods long ago. They cannot rest, and so they try to take others to join them, but you resisted them. That's why they were so interested in you." Tommy shivered, remembering the cold, empty eyes of the children. "What happens now?" "Now," Eliza said, taking his hand, "I take you home. But you must promise me something, Tommy. Never come back to these woods after dark, and if you ever hear the whispers again, run. Run as fast as you can." Tommy nodded, his heart still pounding. As they walked out of the forest, he glanced back one last time. The shadows seemed to shift and move, and for a moment, he thought he saw the pale faces of the children watching him from the darkness. He never went back to the woods after that. But sometimes, late at night, he would hear the faintest whisper outside his window, calling his name. And every time, he would pull the covers over his head and remind himself of Eliza's warning. The whispering shadows were still out there, waiting, and they would never stop calling.